we knew we had to get good to get out of Detroit, because Detroit was as great a place to come from as it was. It wasn't the place to be. You know, New York, London, L.A., maybe San Francisco. Those were the places to be. That's where the music industry was, and we knew we had to get out to get good, and we didn't know really how to get out. And I would always notice that, you know, the name on the back of the album, the producer, you know, and the legendary guys like Phil Spector and George Martin, obviously. And there was another name that I'd noticed on all these records, like Traffic Records and Blind Faith, and the Rolling Stones, after Jumpin' Jack Flash, had this name, Jimmy Miller, on it. And I loved the way the records that he produced sounded. They were just wonderful. So I sat down and wrote letters to George Martin, Jimmy Miller, Shel Talmy, who had produced the early Who and the Kinks, and Pete Townsend, actually, I wrote a letter to. And we didn't hear back from anybody, but in the Jimmy Miller letter, I said, we know the guys from Traffic, and you can ask Stevie Winwood about us, because we're friends, and if you're ever in Detroit, come and hear our band. And I gave my phone number, and late one night, I was in the 12th grade, it was during the Johnny Carson show, probably around 12 midnight. The phone rings, and my dad gets up and answers it. And, you know, my friends didn't call that late at night, and my dad was kind of upset about it. And he answers the phone, he says, "Who is this?" "Oh," he says, "Doug, it's for you, it's Jimmy Miller." And I'm thinking, you know, it's John bullshitting, you know. And I get on the phone and say, "Hey, John, hi, Jimmy." And it really was Jimmy Miller saying, "I got your letter, and I called Stevie Winwood and asked him about you guys, and he says you're really good, and I'd really love to come to Detroit and look at Motown studios. I've never seen them, so I will be in New York on this date, going to Los Angeles on this date. I'll stop in Detroit in between time. You can pick me up from the airport, take me to Motown, and I'll come hear your band." So we did. We picked him up from the airport. We took him to Motown, brought him back to my house. We sat around my parents' ping pong table in the basement and played him songs, and the next morning he signed us